Part 6. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 51. Wolong Island. This name made Chen Hao feel inexplicably worried. Chen Hao thought for a moment and looked at the ice dragon. Are there not all dragons in 5 Dragon Island? Although Chen Hao likes to keep pets, he doesn't like to keep just one. Like dragons, Chen Hao currently has an ice dragon. If there are dragons of other types, Chen Hao can consider them. He could accept one of each attribute, but if the 5 Dragons Island was full of dragons, it would be too boring to just catch dragons and raise them. Moreover, Ice Dragon said, there are still places where the magic is so strong that it can give birth to semi-saints and saints. If Wolong Island were all dragons, Chen Hao had the urge to change places. No, Binglong explained, 5 Dragon Island is only named because it is the place where giant dragons gather and are born. On the huge island of Wu Dragon Island, the 5 magic elements are located on the island. There are 5 areas on the top, so those 5 areas attract the gathering of dragons with 5 different attributes: wind, fire, water, earth, and wood. Although it is a gathering place for giant dragons, the number of giant dragons has always been very rare. Even if it is a gathering place, there are only 100 dragons in Wolong Island. Most of them are other dragons bred by the rich magic essence. A powerful monster. Having said this, the ice dragon paused and looked at the woods of the World of Warcraft forest around it. The Warcraft in this World of Warcraft forest are called Warcraft because the magic here is not strong enough. It can transform some creatures, whether animals or plants, into monsters from ordinary creatures. Compared to plants, animals are more likely to attract magic and turn into monsters. Therefore, in the monster forest, there are more cases of animals turning into monsters. Binglong looked at Chen Hao, but it is different on Wolong Island. In Wolong Island, because the magic element is too strong, not to mention animals and plants, even stones, minerals, withered leaves or weapons left by the ancients all will gain life and become monsters due to being invaded by magic for a long time. Hearing this, Chen Hao's eyes lit up. You mean, the stone turned into a monster? Ice Dragon nodded slightly. We prefer to call those things monsters. A sense of freshness arose in Chen Hao's heart. His mind was spinning. The things he raises now are all magical beasts. Stones gain life, minerals gain life, weapons gain life. Stimulate. This special monster would probably be very interesting if raised. On Wolong Island, the number of monsters is much more than that of giant dragons, Ice Dragon said aloud. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled and looked at Binglong. Lead the way, let's go to Wolong Island. As he spoke, he looked at the ancient tree not far away. I saw that the big pig, who was the Yasheng ancient tree, seemed to realize something. It opened its eyes and was looking here. Big pig, I'll let the ice dragon lead the way. When the time comes, just follow the ice dragon to move. We are going to Wolong Island, Chen Hao said with a smile. When the moving Yasheng ancient tree heard this, it said, Okay, master. The ice dragon looked at the moving Yasheng ancient tree. It retracted its gaze and looked at Chen Hao. Master, let's set off now. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled. Don't worry, eat first. You will get to know the other monsters later. After all, you are all my monsters now, and you can be considered brothers and sisters. When Binglong heard this, he nodded slightly. Yes. Chen Hao called out all the monsters and prepared food for them. He looked at the monsters, stretched out his hand to the ice dragon beside him, and said, Let's get to know each other. This is your new partner, the ice dragon. Hear the ice dragon. The big wolf looked at the ice dragon. The ice dragon was sitting, looking at the group of monsters in front of it expressionlessly. The big wolf showed a smile, folded his hands on his chest, sat on the ground, and said with a smile, Ice Dragon. Since you have become the master's monster, then you are my buddy. If you are bullied by other monsters outside in the future, I will retaliate. My name is Alienated Wind and Thunder Wolf. When Chen Hao took a look, the corner of his mouth twitched and he subconsciously looked at Bing Long. But I saw the ice dragon's tail that was wagging just now stopped, and the ice dragon's eyelids were trembling. The second wolf saw that it was walking about on its own, came to the side of the ice dragon, and sat down. It raised its face and looked at the ice dragon beside it. Come, let's compete to see who is stronger. It looked at the ice dragon, its eyes full of surprise. Wow! Ice dragon, you are so strong. These words were matched with Erlang's effeminate voice. Chen Hao felt goosebumps rising and his fists clenched involuntarily. Erlang is such a naughty thing. I really want to hit him on the head with my fist. The corners of the ice dragon's mouth twitched. As the hurricane swift wolf, the three wolves looked at the ice dragon and said with a smile, Uncle Ice Dragon, I listen to the fire fox. Before the word ant came out, the three wolves felt a murderous gaze coming from beside them. It immediately changed its title. Sister Fire Fox said that you are the king of this Warcraft forest. If anything happens in the future, you may need Uncle Ice Dragon to protect us. Sorry to trouble you. When the ice dragon heard this, the tail of the dragon behind him shook slightly, and it said slowly, they are all the master's monsters, and we just need to serve the master together. The big bear of the Bangshan ancestral bear looked at the ice dragon. Brother Ice Dragon, I am the Bangshan ancestral bear. My master calls me Big Bear. Bing Long nodded slightly. After saying this, Bing Long looked at Firefox. The three-tailed fox of Skyfire looked at the ice dragon and said, I am the three-tailed fox of Skyfire. My master calls me Fire Fox. The ice dragon looked at the fire phoenix. The fire phoenix has not evolved today, it is still the sub-saint fire phoenix. When Huofeng saw ice dragon looking at him, he crossed his arms and smiled at ice dragon. Say along, after you were taken away by the master, there will be no powerful Warcraft in this world of Warcraft forest. They are all a bunch of weak chickens. It'll be okay for a while, let's continue fighting. The ice dragon's pupils shrank suddenly, and its slightly wagging tail stopped. It avoided the fire phoenix's sight. They are all the master's monsters, there is no need to fight and kill them. It ignored Huofeng's somewhat excited gaze and looked at the last few monsters. The 5 shadow rabbits in the Beast King stage are eating. See the ice dragon. The 5 shadow rabbits stood up. Uncle Ice Dragon, I am Tu Yi. I'm Tu Er. I'm Tu San. I'm Rabbit 4. I am Rabbit 5. Tu Yi said in a childish voice, the 5 of us are responsible for investigating the situation nearby. The ice dragon nodded slightly and looked at Yemei. When Bing Long saw Yemei, its eyes became solemn. The strongest humanoid assassin monster in the dark semi-holy period, Yemei. Yemei is sitting in front of her dinner plate. After noticing the ice dragon, Yemei raised her head and looked at the ice dragon. Their eyes met. The ice dragon's pupils condensed slightly, and it said, I am an ice dragon. Yemei remained expressionless as always and nodded, I am Yemei, and my master likes to call me Xiaoying. Bing Long nodded slightly. When Chen Hao saw this, he smiled, now that everyone has met, let's start eating. After eating, Bing Long will set off for us to Wolong Island and lead the way for us. Let's start now. When Chen Hao's voice fell, the monsters began to eat. Chen Hao looked at the monsters that were eating. He raised his head and looked at the blue sky above. Wolong Island, there are some kind of monsters there, they should be called monsters. What kind of monsters will be there? It's really exciting. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 52. The ice dragon led the way, and the moving Yasheng ancient tree did not seem to move during the day. In fact, the tree roots below it move underground, keeping up with the flying ice dragon at extremely fast speeds. At night, the moving Yasheng ancient tree uses the movement magic it possesses to transfer. Move Chen Hao, who lives in the wooden house and its accompanying forest, to the location of the ice dragon. For Chen Hao, who lives in the accompanying forest of the moving Yasheng ancient tree, he didn't feel anything. Because what the moving sub-sage ancient tree moves is not just itself, but also its accompanying forest. During the transfer process, it is equivalent to transferring a forest. Chen Hao, who lived in the forest, came out the next day and saw the same forest. If we want to talk about the difference, then the only difference is the ice dragon flew away in the morning, and in the evening, Chen Hao could see the ice dragon appearing outside the wooden house. Chen Hao didn't think much about it. He let the ice dragon rest at night and eat with other monsters, and then continued during the day. This lasted for half a month. "Master, we are here." A voice woke up Chen Hao from his deep sleep. "Hear this sound." Chen Hao, who was sleeping, opened his eyes. He looked at the familiar ceiling above, then rubbed his eyes, stood up slowly, and looked toward the sound window. The sound came from the window. Through the window, Chen Hao could see the dark night outside. In the sky, 3 moons of different sizes can be seen hanging in the sky. At the same time, Chen Hao could also see the figure of the ice dragon standing in front of the window, looking at Chen Hao through the window. Chen Hao was startled. "Ice dragon." His eyes suddenly lit up. "Are you here?" He got out of bed, hurriedly walked to the door of the cabin, and looked forward. "Enter the eye." Chen Hao's eyes reflected a blue halo. He couldn't help but open his mouth slightly. "This is." Under the wooden house, you can see the clear and transparent sea water. The sea water swallows the ground under the wooden house, and under this extremely clear sea water, you can see some sand and stones. These sandstones emit a blue halo. If it's just a few sandstones that glow blue, that's nothing. However, as far as Chen Hao could see at this moment, all he could see were sand and stones submerged by the sea water, and all the sand and stones were emitting a blue halo. In this night, these halos are gorgeous and bright. Let the world in front of you become like a fairyland. Chen Hao looked forward and saw that his sand and stones ranged from large to small. The larger stone was more than 10 meters high. It and other sand and stones were piled up to form a hill, standing in one place. It is very common for small stones to form a small rock mountain against large stones. The picture Chen Hao sees now is like a standing stone tree composed of big stones and small stones. Calm, wide and shallow rivers flow beside these stone trees. The stone sand emits a blue light. Make the world in front of you colorful and boundless. This is Wolong Island. This area belongs to the water dragon area of Wolong Island. It is the place where water magic is condensed. The ice dragon gave an explanation. It looked at the scene in front of it and said, "This place is relatively far away from the Valve continent. It's close, so I let the big pig land here." When Chen Hao heard this, he looked aside. The moving ancient Yasheng tree on the side is stretching its leaves and standing aside. Big Pig did not call out his companion forest, presumably so that Chen Hao could see the difference between this place and the World of Warcraft forest. Wow! Suddenly, a voice came. This sound attracted Chen Hao's attention, and he immediately looked towards the source of the sound. In the distance, a creature made of stone was slowly walking towards the side. This creature is 5 meters tall, and its body is made of the same stones that emitted a blue halo. On its head, you can see a blue one-eyed pupil. Chen Hao took a look. The stone doesn't have any animal or plant structure, and the whole body is made of stone. Is this a monster? Chen Hao immediately took out the biological identification device and pointed it at the creature. Semi-holy period. The stone demon. Description: the stone demon evolved from the stone demon and is a monster with dual attributes of water and earth. Chen Hao looked at the giant stone demon. It is indeed a monster, but, I have to say, this thing is really handsome. The whole body is made of stones that emit blue light, and it has a blue one eye with a sense of technology. This thing is indeed very handsome. Suddenly, the ice dragon opened its mouth, and a mist instantly enveloped the giant stone demon. The moment the ice dragon used dragon's breath, Chen Hao could feel the temperature around him drop sharply. The giant stone demon was covered by the ice dragon's breath, and his body was instantly frozen into an ice sculpture, unable to move anymore. A thick vine stretched out from the ground and stabbed the stone demon. Boom! The stone demon was directly pierced by the vines. Boom! The boulder demon turned into gravel and rolled to the ground. A vine stretched into the broken body of the giant stone demon and rolled up a diamond-shaped crystal. The vine rolled up the diamond-shaped crystal and flew to Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at the fist-sized rhombus crystal in front of him and stretched out his hand to take it. Change. The crystal turns into a card. Semi-Saint Magic Crystal, the magic crystal of the stone demon. Although the stone demon is also in the semi-saint stage, it is still too weak for the special existence of the ice dragon. However, Chen Hao looked at the gravel of the stone demon. It is weak, but it still looks very handsome. Chen Hao smiled. Sure enough, it is just as the ice dragon said. There are many unique monsters in Wolong Island. It seems that I can add some unique creatures to my breeding creatures. Chen Hao looked at the sea water under the wooden house. This place doesn't look suitable for walking. Suddenly, vines rose from the ground, and the vines stretched horizontally, forming a unique vine floor. The moving sub-saint ancient tree, Master, wherever you want to go, I can use wood magic to hold you up, so you don't need to touch the sea water. Before Chen Hao could speak, the ice dragon followed and said, Master, you can also ride on me. Wherever you want to go, I will take you there. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled and looked at the moving sub-saint ancient tree. Big Pig, you first use wood magic to make a large platform in front of this wooden house. It is used for the big wolves to stand. Now the time is almost right, I will let them out and prepare dinner for you. As for Chen Hao looked at the environment in front of him. As for the exploration of this place, come back tomorrow morning. Although Chen Hao is very interested in this place, it is late now. He plans to explore it tomorrow morning after feeding the monsters with dinner. I wonder how many interesting monsters there are in this place. Chen Hao is looking forward to the next exploration. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 53. Chen Hao called out the big wolf and the others and asked them to come out for dinner. Chen Hao just slept because he had nothing to do. When the big pig moved the wooden house here and woke Chen Hao up, it was late at night. In the past, dinner was prepared for the monsters during this time period, so Chen Hao simply prepared it for them directly. After the monsters came out, they found that the environment was different from before, and they all showed excitement, especially the sub-saint fire phoenix. The magic here is so rich, but it's really annoying. The magic here is all water magic, which is the magic I hate the most. The fire phoenix wrinkled its nose, and its expression was uncomfortable. After observing the surroundings, it looked at Chen Hao with a smile on its face. Master, is this the Five-Dragon Island? The ice dragon has been gone for almost half a month. Have you finally arrived? Hearing this, Chen Hao noticed that the other monsters were also looking at him. Chen Hao smiled. Yes, this is Wolong Island. The ice dragon said that this area is where water magic gathers. Because the magic here is rich, there should be many powerful monsters. The fire phoenix's eyes lit up, it smiled, flapped its wings and flew up. It hurriedly said with a smile, Master, then I will go hunting first, I will be back tomorrow. As it said, the fire phoenix flapped its wings and flew out. Its slender body left a red light in the dark night sky. Chen Hao watched the fire phoenix fly away. He was a little helpless, this battle maniac. Chen Hao originally wanted to let the monsters go hunting tomorrow morning, but he didn't expect the fire phoenix to run away directly. Forget it, the fire phoenix itself does not need to eat, it likes to fight, let it go, anyway, it won't die. Chen Hao thought to himself. He looked at the big wolf and the others. Why is there water on the ground here? The big wolf walked to the edge of the large platform made by the sub-saint ancient tree, looking at the lake full of water below, it frowned. The second wolf flapped its huge wings and flew to the stone tree. It stood on the stone tree and observed the surroundings. The third wolf also flew into the air and observed the surroundings. They were a little excited, but their expressions were not very happy. The big bear, the ancestor of the collapse of the mountain, also had this expression. The fire fox was still as elegant as ever, but when it saw the ground full of lake water outside, it couldn't help but frowned. Chen Hao had raised cats and dogs before. Those creatures with a lot of animal hair naturally hate water. Like the big wolf, it is obvious that they don't like this environment. Chen Hao said with a smile, "If I ask you to hunt in such a place, will it affect you?" The big wolf was startled, it came back to its senses, looked at Chen Hao, and said with a smile, "No master, we can use magic to wrap our bodies, and the water can't touch our hair. It's just that I don't like water very much." "Yes, master, I have wings and can fly. In addition to flying, I can also use magic to wrap my body, and the water can't touch me." The three wolves flew down, folded their wings, looked at Chen Hao and said with a smile. "We just hate water by nature." Fire Fox said, "This water will not affect our hunting." Fire Fox sat on the platform, shaking the three pairs of fiery red fox tails behind him, looking at Chen Hao elegantly. Chen Hao smiled and nodded slightly, "That's good." He smiled and said, "Eat, rest after eating, and explore Wolong Island again tomorrow morning." "Okay." Fire Fox nodded slightly. The monsters all started eating. Before, Chen Hao asked the big pig to get a table and chairs at the door of the wooden house. Chen Hao was sitting on a chair, looking at the table. On this table, there was a miniature table and chair. The bright butterfly beast, which was only 11 or 12 centimeters in size, sat on a chair, eating the fruit that Chen Hao had placed on the table. Bright butterfly beast was now in the awakening stage, and it had evolved to the awakening stage for half a month. Because Chen Hao did not have the light-type semi-saint magic crystal, he could not provide it with the semi-saint magic crystal element. This also led to its inability to evolve in the past half-month. Chen Hao had nothing to do before, so he asked Bing Long about the semi-saint light-type magic crystal. According to Bing Long, the semi-saint light-type monsters were relatively rare among many monsters, and there were none in the monster forest. This five-dragon island might exist, but it was only a possibility. Chen Hao was quite interested in what bright butterfly beast would become when it evolved to the semi-saint stage. After all, in the description of bright butterfly beast, it was an extremely rare existence. Of course, in fact, it was very rare. After Chen Hao looked at the little guy, he retracted his gaze and looked at the ice dragon. Ice dragon. The ice dragon, whose mouth was full of raw meat residue and blood, heard Chen Hao's call, raised its huge head and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao took out a card and threw it to the ice dragon. Transform. The card turned into a magic crystal and flew towards the ice dragon. The ice dragon was startled, raised its claws and took it. It opened its claws and looked at the semi-saint stage giant stone magic crystal lying in its claws, then looked at Chen Hao. "Master, what is this?" Chen Hao smiled, "You are a water-type magic beast, this is a semi-saint stage water-type magic crystal. Eat it, it can help you evolve to the saint stage earlier." The ice dragon shook its head upon hearing this, and then looked at Chen Hao. "Thank you very much, master, but the difference between the magic essence in the magic crystal of the semi-saint stage and the magic essence of the saint stage is like heaven and earth. Even if a semi-saint stage monster eats millions of semi-saint stage magic crystals, it may not be able to evolve to the Saint stage. Chen Hao was startled, and he frowned. The other monsters also raised their heads and looked at the ice dragon. Chen Hao looked at the ice dragon and asked, "That is to say, no?" The ice dragon nodded slightly, "Yes, the half-saint stage magic crystal can replenish magic for the half-saint stage monster, but it is impossible to evolve to the saint stage with this. There are two ways to evolve to the saint stage. The first is that the monster itself has extremely high talent and qualifications. If the monster itself has extremely high talent and qualifications, it only needs to spend enough time, and it can naturally break through from the half-saint stage to the saint stage. And this kind of monster with the qualifications to enter the saint stage is very rare." As he said, the ice dragon looked at Chen Hao. "I have lived to this day, 2316 years, but I still can't enter the saint stage. It can be seen I don't have the qualifications to enter the sainthood. No matter how many half-sainthood magic crystals the master gives me, it's useless. The second way is to hunt sainthood monsters, obtain the magic crystals of sainthood monsters, and forcibly integrate the magic elements of their magic crystals into your body. But this method also requires that your own talent and qualifications are high enough to be able to integrate those magic elements. If your own talent and qualifications are not enough, you will explode and die because you can't bear those magic elements." Speaking of this, the ice dragon looked at Chen Hao and said, "For monsters that have entered the sainthood, we call them holy beasts. There are hundreds of holy beasts in Wolong Island, but they are not easy to deal with." Hearing this, why did Chen Hao feel that this was different from what the fire fox said? He subconsciously looked at the fire fox. The fire fox noticed Chen Hao's sight, it lowered its head slightly, and said, "Master, I'm sorry, I don't know the conditions for the evolution of the half-sainthood to the sainthood. I thought it was the same as before." After hearing it, Chen Hao understood. The fire fox had been staying in the monster forest. It had never seen a monster in the saint stage, so it naturally didn't know about the saint stage. Therefore, it thought it was the same as entering the semi-saint stage from the awakening stage. The ice dragon had a lot of experience, so it naturally knew more than the fire fox. Judging from what the ice dragon said, it seemed that the saint stage was very difficult to enter. It was estimated that the power of the saint beast was very terrifying. Boom! Suddenly, a loud noise came from a distance. Hearing the loud noise, Chen Hao subconsciously looked into the distance. The lake in the distance was rippling with water. Then, Chen Hao felt a gust of wind coming towards him, with a biting chill in the wind. The wind made Chen Hao's clothes rustle. Such a big noise. The ice dragon looked into the distance and said, "It's the water magic element fluctuation of the water-based saint beast water dragon." Water dragon? Chen Hao's heart moved, and he looked at the source of the sound, in that direction. The book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao opened the book and took a look. Chen Hao's mouth twitched. Sure enough. In the card slot, there was a familiar card. Half-Saint Stage Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. Health, 1%. This kid is really not afraid of death, he's challenging another level. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 54. Before, the Fire Phoenix defeated the Ice Dragon, which was in the Half-Saint stage, when it was in the Awakening stage. But the problem is that the gap between the Awakening stage and the Half-Saint stage is not as big as the gap between the Half-Saint stage and the Entering Saint stage. It is very unlikely that the Fire Phoenix can defeat the Water Holy Dragon, which is in the Entering Saint stage, with the Half-Saint stage. Chen Hao looked in the direction where the voice just came from. It seems that it is quite difficult to obtain the magic crystal of the Entering Saint stage here to help his magic beasts evolve to the Entering Saint stage. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows, raised his head, and looked at the night sky above. 3 moons of different sizes were hanging in the air, and next to the moons, there were dense stars. For Chen Hao, his goal from the beginning was not to let the magic beasts evolve. His goal has always been only one, that is, to raise small animals and observe their growth with his own eyes. However, evolution is also a way of growth. Chen Hao still hopes to let the magic beasts evolve again and see their posture after evolution. It was a pity that he could not defeat the Saint stage and could not evolve with the magic crystals of the semi-Saint stage. There was no way to crack it for the time being. Chen Hao could only take it one step at a time. The next day arrived quickly. Although the monsters could not continue to evolve, Chen Hao had another thing to do now. That was to explore the 5-Dragon Island to see if he could find some interesting monsters to breed. Chen Hao was still full of expectations for the monsters on the 5-Dragon Island. Chen Hao came out of the wooden house and stood on the wooden platform formed by the sub-saint ancient tree. He released all the monsters and let them stand on this platform to eat breakfast. Looking at the posture of the monsters eating, Chen Hao opened the book. Semi-Saint Stage Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. Taming Degree, 100%. Seeing the taming degree color bar displayed on this card, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. Is it recovered? The health color bar will only be displayed when the monsters are injured. If they are not injured, the health color bar will be hidden. Now there is no health bar on the Fire Phoenix card, which means it has fully recovered. Chen Hao took the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix card out of the book, waved his hand, and the card flew out. Transform. The card transformed into the posture of the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. The Fire Phoenix flapped its wings and flew in the air. It slowly opened its closed eyes and looked at Chen Hao. When their eyes met, the Fire Phoenix smiled, "Master." Chen Hao crossed his arms and looked at the Fire Phoenix in the air, and said with a smile, "How is it? The magic beasts here are powerful, right?" When the Fire Phoenix heard it, it stopped smiling, puffed up its face, and said, "In other words, it's just a broken dragon, what can be powerful? Let me fight it a few more times, I will definitely take its magic crystal and give it to the master." Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled without saying a word. The Fire Phoenix's mouth is still as hard as ever. The Fire Phoenix suddenly smiled and looked at Chen Hao, "Master, I'll go first." Chen Hao was startled, "Go." The Fire Phoenix flapped its wings and flew in the air. It smiled and said, "Yeah, it's rare to find a powerful guy. I want to fight with it a few more times, and then take down its magic crystal and give it to the master." The corner of Chen Hao's mouth twitched. This fighting maniac. As the Fire Phoenix said, it turned sideways, looked at Chen Hao, and smiled and said, "Then master, I'll go first." As it said, it flapped its wings, turned into a red light, and disappeared from Chen Hao's sight. Looking at the back of the Fire Phoenix leaving, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows and said, "I'm sure, this thing has M attribute." "Master, what is M attribute?" Suddenly, a neutral voice came. Chen Hao was startled, he looked to his side. Yamei was standing beside him. She was only 1.4 meters tall and slim. She looked like a little girl. She raised her head and looked at him with her 4 fluffy rabbit ears erect. Her big eyes were full of doubt. Chen Hao smiled and said, "M attribute means that you like to be beaten. Some people just deserve to be beaten. Your sister Huo Feng is one of them." "Oh, this is the M attribute." Yamei's eyes lit up slightly, and her expression was a little surprised. Yamei's body shape gave people the feeling of a child. This child looked up at Chen Hao, and then got the answer, showing a look of surprise. It was so cute. Chen Hao couldn't help but smile, stretched out his hand, and pinched her fluffy cheek. "Well, master." Yamei was pinched on the face by Chen Hao, and her eyes looked at Chen Hao with doubt. Chen Hao smiled and said, "You are so cute, I can't help but want to pinch your face." Yamei was startled, her eyes glowed with light, and her face was filled with joy. If the master likes it, Yamei likes it too. When Chen Hao heard this, His heart warmed up, he reached out and touched her little head, and when he touched her head, he could also touch her soft rabbit ears. It felt pretty good. Chen Hao retracted his hand and looked at the scenery ahead. It is morning now, and the environment in front of you in the morning is different from what you see at night. Everything in front of you is brighter, and you can see a little blue halo on the sand and stones of the lake. These blues make this place in front of you particularly gorgeous. What kind of interesting monsters will there be on Wolong Island? Chen Hao was full of expectations. After the monsters have finished eating, Chen Hao decided to sit on the big wolf's shoulder and follow the big wolves out hunting. But soon, Chen Hao regretted it. No, 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 this is too high, no, no, I can't stand steadily. After Chen Hao was put on the big wolf's shoulder by the hand, Chen Hao immediately felt something was wrong. He grabbed the hair beside the big wolf's cheek and stood on the big wolf's shoulder, but the problem was that the shoulders of the human-shaped big wolf were like mountains, convex in the middle and concave on both sides. Although he could grab the hair to keep himself standing, it was not easy to stand or sit steadily. Chen Hao could almost imagine the scene where he would fly out directly when the big wolf ran. Although he was immortal and could not die from falling, it did not mean that he liked to be thrown. Switch. At Chen Hao's request, he was put on the back of the three wolves by the big wolf's hand. Sitting on the broad back of the three wolves and sitting steadily, Chen Hao breathed a sigh of relief. It's more comfortable to sit on you. It's too dangerous to stand on the shoulders of the big wolf. Chen Hao patted the three wolf who was the hurricane wolf. When the three wolf heard it, it showed a happy smile. Master, don't worry, sit on me, it's very stable. Chen Hao nodded slightly, and he looked at the big wolf. But he saw that the big wolf looked at him with a wronged face. The second wolf also looked at him with a wronged look. The second wolf looked at Chen Hao aggrievedly. Master, it's also stable on my back. Chen Hao couldn't help rolling his eyes. Doesn't this guy know why he didn't choose it? Chen Hao smiled and comforted. Okay, don't feel wronged, follow me, and protect my safety, it's also very important. The three wolf is riding on me, it's not easy for it to participate in the battle, my safety depends on you. When the big wolf and the second wolf heard it, their grievances disappeared. In this case, I will protect the safety of the master. The big wolf clenched his fists, squinted his eyes, and looked fierce. Humph. If any monster dares to approach my master, I will tear it apart with my wind magic. Erlang also had a ferocious look. Watching the performance of Dada and Chun, Chen Hao was happy to see that his comfort was effective. He retracted his sight and looked at the other monsters. The Skyfire three-tailed fox, who was sitting aside and watching this, shook his head speechlessly. The big bear and the ice dragon, the ancestor bears of the Collapse Mountain, looked at this with expressionless faces as usual. Behind Xiaoying, a pair of wings made of black mist spread out, flew in the air, and followed. As for the other 5 shadow rabbits and bright butterfly beasts, because they were too weak, Chen Hao did not release them. For them, the monsters in this place are too dangerous. Chen Hao looked at the sub-saint ancient tree next to the wooden house and said with a smile, Big Pig, let's explore this island first. Your task is to find the place where the magic elements of other attributes are condensed on this island. After we explore this place, you will take us to other places. Okay, Master. The old voice of the big pig came. Chen Hao nodded slightly, retracted his gaze, looked into the distance, and said, Let's go. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 55. Chen Hao rode the hurricane swift wolf, the third wolf, and flew to the front, with a group of monsters following behind him. Because Chen Hao wanted to explore Wolong Island, Chen Hao asked the 3 wolves to fly lower, estimated to be more than 10 meters high, which is considered low-altitude flight. The speed was not fast. Chen Hao could feel the wind coming towards him. Riding on the back of the hurricane swift wolf and feeling the strong wind, Chen Hao thought of when he used to drive a motorcycle, but this speed was much faster than the speed of a motorcycle. Moreover, the hurricane swift wolf had a lot of hair. Sitting on its back, covered by the flying hair, the warmth came up all of a sudden. Leather seed. Chen Hao muttered. Master, look, the hurricane swift wolf suddenly flapped its wings and slowed down greatly. Chen Hao looked forward and saw a humanoid creature with a body of 5 meters tall and made of ice, standing in the distance. On its head made of ice, a deep blue pupil can be seen, and the pupil is staring at this side. This guy is similar to the giant stone demon encountered last night, but the difference is that its body is made of ice. Chen Hao took out the biological identification device and aimed it at the creature. Half-Saint period Ice Giant. Description: Ice Giant, Water Attribute. Evolved from the Iceman, it has a powerful water-based ice magic. Seeing this description, Chen Hao looked at the Ice Giant in the distance. Don't kill it, just beat it half to death. I want to turn it into a card. I'll do it, Big Wolf said. It rushed towards the Ice Giant. The Ice Giant looked at the Big Wolf coming and opened its mouth suddenly. Its mouth looked like a gap between ice blocks. As soon as it opened, 3 huge ice cones condensed in front of its mouth. The ice cones shot violently at the Big Wolf, who was an alienated wind and thunder wolf. Before the ice cones hit the Big Wolf, suddenly 3 huge wind blades whistled away. Boom boom boom. The 3 ice cones were shattered in mid-air. Chen Hao looked at it and subconsciously looked at the source of the wind blade. He saw that in the sky above, the giant winged angry wolf flapped its wings and flew in the air. The wind blade just now was emitted by the second wolf of the giant winged angry wolf. As soon as the ice cone disappeared, the figure of the Big Wolf passed through the broken mist left by the broken ice cone and came to the front of the ice giant. Wind and thunder claws, the Big Wolf roared and swept its claws towards the ice giant in front of it. At the moment when the claws swept out, wind and lightning surrounded its claws. A light blue magic shield appeared in front of the ice giant. Boom, the magic shield was torn apart. The Big Wolf's claws passed through the magic shield and hit the right arm of the ice giant. Bang, accompanied by a muffled sound. The arm made purely of ice shattered and broke. The Big Wolf jumped up and pounced on the ice giant. It grinned, showing its fangs, and looked ferocious. It stomped on the ice giant's leg. Bang! With a loud bang, the ice giant's leg was also broken. The Big Wolf clawed the ice giant's other arm and tore it off. The ice giant opened his mouth. Woo, the sound it made was ethereal and wailing. Chen Hao looked at it and said, "Will it hurt too?" "Big Wolf," Chen Hao said. The Big Wolf was startled, it stopped and pricked up its ears. Chen Hao said, "It's okay." When the Big Wolf heard it, it stood up and stepped aside. Transform. Chen Hao threw out the animal trap rope card that he had prepared long ago. The card turned into a thick rope and instantly tied up the ice giant lying on the ground. The ice giant's limbs made of ice were all destroyed by the Big Wolf. After being tied up by the rope, it couldn't move at all. Suddenly, the trap rope and the ice giant disappeared together. 2 cards appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao put away the trap rope card and looked at the ice giant card that he had obtained. Semi-Saint period Ice Giant. Health, 29%. Taming degree, 0. Seeing this, Chen Hao was startled. There is no hunger degree, nor thirst degree. Is this the difference between monsters and monsters? Chen Hao frowned. But in this case, it means that there is no way to gain taming degree through feeding. If there is no way to gain taming degree through feeding, it means, as long as it is not a cub monster, it cannot be tamed. Master, how am I? Suddenly, a voice called Chen Hao back from his thoughts. Chen Hao came back to his senses and saw the Big Wolf looking at him with big eyes with expectation, and its tail was shaking behind it. And me. How about those 3 wind blades? The second wolf was also full of expectations. Chen Hao smiled helplessly, and the big wolf and the second wolf also began to learn from the third wolf to take credit. Not bad, not bad, they are all great, Chen Hao said with a smile. When the big wolf heard it, it crossed its arms, a happy smile on its face, and its tail behind it was shaking particularly happily. The second wolf was also happy. Master, let's go, the next monster, I will be the main attacker. I am also very powerful. Chen Hao smiled, okay, but the other adult monsters don't need to be beaten half to death next. The big wolf was startled, he was a little uneasy. Master, did I hit too hard? Chen Hao blinked his eyes, he smiled and said, no, I mean, just kill it directly and leave the magic crystal. Oh, Big Wolf smiled, okay. That's much easier. That's our area of expertise. Chen Hao smiled, wait a minute, let me see where to go next. As he spoke, Chen Hao took out the biosensor. If adult monsters cannot be tamed, then it means that if you want to obtain monsters for breeding, you can only find cubs. Turn on the biosensor and take a look. At first glance, Chen Hao's eyes lit up slightly. Is this, so many? Very surprised. No wonder Chen Hao was surprised, because on the map projected by this biosensor, you can see many small red dots. You know, before Chen Hao was in the Warcraft forest, most of them were big red dots, and big red dots meant adult Warcraft. Small red dots representing Warcraft cubs are very rare in the Warcraft forest. But here, Chen Hao found a lot of small red dots. Just next to Chen Hao, who represented the green dot, there was a small red dot. Chen Hao blinked his eyes and looked around. Is there? No. It's probably too high. Now Hurricane Wolf is still flying, more than 10 meters above the ground. It's a small monster, probably not big. Thinking of this, Chen Hao patted Hurricane Wolf on the shoulder. 3 Wolf, put me down. When 3 Wolf heard it, it flapped its wings and flew down. When it flew over the lake, 3 Wolf turned its head and looked at Chen Hao. Master, there is the lake below. Chen Hao nodded slightly. Go down. 3 Wolf fell down and stood in the lake. It lay down. Lie in the lake. Because 3 Wolf's body was covered with a layer of transparent water magic shield, the lake water could not touch 3 Wolf's body when it was about 5 centimeters away from 3 Wolf's body. Chen Hao turned over and got off 3 Wolf's back. With the mood of stepping on the lake, Chen Hao stepped down. As soon as he stood, the coolness he imagined did not come. He stood firm, looked down, and found that he was stepping on a flat and clear tree root. Seeing this, Chen Hao understood. It was the root of the moving sub-saint ancient tree, the big pig. Has this guy been following him all the time? Chen Hao smiled. Big pig, this kid. Chen Hao didn't know how to evaluate big pig. He didn't continue talking. He looked at the biosensor in his hand and saw the direction of the red dot indicated by the biosensor. Chen Hao looked in the direction of the red dot. When he saw it, Chen Hao's eyes lit up slightly. Under the stone tree not far away, a little man, only the size of a palm, made of water, was sitting under the stone tree, leaning against the stone tree, and seemed to be resting. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 56. Is this little guy so cute? Chen Hao was afraid that it would be scared away, so he observed from a distance. I have to say, this little guy is really cute. It is made of water all over, and its body is smooth. It has hands and feet, but no facial features. It is about the size of a palm. At this moment, it is sitting under the stone tree, leaning against the stone tree, with a lazy posture. Chen Hao took out the biological identification device and aimed it at the little guy. Cub stage Little Water Spirit. Description: Little Water Spirit, a water-attributed monster, gained life when the lake water of Wolong Island was invaded by a large amount of water-attributed magic. It is currently in a newly born state and is very weak. Interesting. Chen Hao smiled and took out the trap rope card. He threw the trap rope card forward. Transform. The card immediately turned into a rope and swept towards the little water spirit. The little water spirit seemed to have noticed this, and it hurriedly got up and ran. However, its speed was obviously not as fast as the trap rope, and its body was tied up like a dumpling in an instant. In an instant, the trap rope and the little water spirit disappeared together. Two more cards appeared in front of Chen Hao. One was the trap rope, and the other was the little water spirit. Chen Hao put away the trap rope card, then took the little water spirit card and looked at it. Cub stage Little Water Spirit. Taming degree, 0. Little Water Spirit growth path, Little Water Spirit rightward arrow Water Spirit. Cub stage. Chen Hao smiled. Interesting, I wonder what this little guy will grow into. Suddenly, Chen Hao looked in the direction of the ice giant. Ice giant, could it be the half-saint stage evolution of Little Water Spirit? Obviously, this possibility is estimated to be 99.9%. However, it doesn't matter. Monsters are probably similar to monsters, and there are many different evolutionary routes. This little guy can also choose to evolve into other monsters. Chen Hao is looking forward to what choice it will make later. Never mind. Chen Hao put the cards into the book. He looked at the hurricane wolf waiting on the side and said with a smile, "Let's go to the next place." Chen Hao had a biological sensor, and he quickly found other monster cubs nearby. When he encountered an adult monster, he would kill it directly and collect magic crystals. When he encountered a monster cub, he would catch it. The success rate of the trap rope in catching monster cubs is 100%, and the success rate of catching monster cubs is naturally the same. Chen Hao was busy all day, and after nightfall, he took the monsters home. Prepared dinner for the monsters. Chen Hao lit a fire in the wooden house. With the light of the fire, he sat on the table, eating dinner while looking at his spoils of war today. On the table, there were 13 cub cards. Cub stage Little Water Spirit. Cub stage Little Stone Spirit. 7 Little Water Spirits. 6 Little Stone Spirits. In fact, if Chen Hao wanted, he could catch more Little Water Spirits and Little Stone Spirits. Because there are many monster cubs here, all of them are these. Because the magic element is too rich, the stones and water here will give birth to new Little Water Spirits and Little Stone Spirits every day. Chen Hao picked up a little stone spirit, looked at it, and smiled. 5 Dragon Island, it's really an interesting place. Before, when he was in the monster forest, there were not so many cubs for Chen Hao to catch. And today, in just one day, there are 13. I think tomorrow the taming degree can be maxed out, or even evolved. After Chen Hao finished dinner, he put the cards into the book. He lay on the wooden bed, looking at the familiar ceiling above. He slowly closed his eyes. Little water spirits, little stone spirits, when these little guys evolve to the Beast King stage, awakening stage, or semi-saint stage, what changes will happen? Will they become ice giants, stone monsters, or other forms? Chen Hao's heart was full of expectations. Suddenly, Chen Hao opened his eyes. I seem to have forgotten something. Oh, Fire Phoenix! Chen Hao's heart moved. Book. He opened the book. One look. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. Half-saint stage sub-saint Fire Phoenix. Health, 1%. Chen Hao closed the book, closed his eyes, and continued to sleep. The next morning, a ray of sunlight passed through the window and fell into the wooden house. Feeling the light, Chen Hao slowly opened his eyes and looked at the familiar ceiling above. Chen Hao got up and sat at the head of the bed. He opened the book with a smile on his face. It's another exciting day. Let me see how you little guys are doing. He opened the book and took a look. Juvenile stage water spirit. Taming, 100%. Juvenile stage stone spirit. Taming, 100%. All 13 cards of Little Water Spirit and Little Stone Spirit evolved from the Cub stage to the Juvenile stage, and their taming degrees were maxed out. Joy surged into Chen Hao's heart. Although he knew it would be like this last night, he was still a little excited. Water Spirit Growth Path, Water Spirit Rightward Arrow Big Water Spirit. Stone Spirit Growth Path, Stone Spirit Rightward Arrow Big Stone Spirit. Let it out first and see. Thinking of this, Chen Hao left the wooden house. He threw the 7 water spirit cards onto the platform. Transform. 7 water spirit cards transformed into 7 water spirits. Chen Hao looked at the 7 water spirits in front of him. The size of these 7 water spirits is a little bigger than yesterday, and they are estimated to be 30 centimeters tall. They are made of water and have hands and feet. At their hearts, a small diamond-shaped crystal can be seen through their almost transparent bodies. Obviously, that thing is their magic crystal. On the head of the water spirit, there is an eye emitting a light blue halo. After the 7 water spirits appeared, they raised their heads one by one and looked at Chen Hao. Meeting their eyes, Chen Hao smiled. Good morning, little guys. The 7 water spirits immediately moved. They ran and came to Chen Hao's feet. The 7 little guys were divided into 2 teams. 4 on one side and 3 on the other side. After running to Chen Hao's feet, they hugged Chen Hao's feet, leaned their heads against Chen Hao's feet, and rubbed their heads against Chen Hao's feet. This scene reminded Chen Hao of some parents going to kindergarten to pick up their children, and the children ran over to hug their parents after seeing their parents. If these 7 little water spirits had not grown mouths, they would probably have started to speak and act like spoiled children. Chen Hao smiled and said, "Okay, the 7 of you, line up, I have something for you." The 7 little guys let go of Chen Hao's feet and walked in front of him and lined up. Chen Hao looked at the 7 little guys, who were less than 40 centimeters tall, and lined up seriously. He was immediately in tears. Chen Hao took out the magic crystals of the mature water system from the book. Then he handed these diamond-shaped crystals, which were slightly larger than quail eggs, to the other little guys. The 7 little guys held the diamond-shaped crystals with their soft hands, and then the 7 little guys raised their heads and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao smiled and said, "Is there a way to eat it? If you can, try it. They can make you grow up faster." "No, these 7 little guys haven't grown mouths yet. Can they eat it?" Chen Hao thought of this and was about to speak up to tell them not to eat. But before he could say anything, he saw a little guy stuffing the magic crystal into his mouth, and the magic crystal sank into his body. Chen Hao could see that there was an extra small magic crystal in his lonely position. The other 6 little guys saw it and swallowed the magic crystals. "Can you eat without a mouth?" Chen Hao raised his eyebrows. "It's really a monster, and it's different from a monster." After eating the magic crystal, the 7 little guys raised their heads and looked at Chen Hao, as if waiting for Chen Hao's next move. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 57. Based on the previous experience of raising wind wolves, Chen Hao was very sure that as long as they stayed in the book for another night, they could evolve to the mature stage even if they were not fed with magic crystals. The reason why Chen Hao fed them with mature magic crystals now was actually because they did not need to eat meat, so Chen Hao used these magic crystals as snacks for them to eat and play with. Shui Ling only had one eye, but its single eye was not a physical eye. Its eye looked more like a circular mark, and this mark was like the sand and stones in the lake that Chen Hao saw, emitting a blue halo. When Shui Ling looked at Chen Hao, it would face the circular mark on its face to Chen Hao. Chen Hao could clearly feel that they were looking at him, so Chen Hao could be sure that it was its eye. This eye was a magic eye, and it looked very cool. Looking at the cute looks of the 7 Shuilings, Chen Hao smiled. Okay, you go back and rest first, and let me see your changes tomorrow morning. Change. As he said, Chen Hao turned the 7 Shuilings into cards. He put the cards into the card slot of the book. These 7 little guys are cute, but too weak. If they are left outside, they will be easily injured. It is safer to put them in the book. Next, it's the stone spirits. Chen Hao took out the cards of the stone spirits from the book. With a wave of his hand, the 6 stone spirit cards flew out. Transform. 6 stone spirits appeared in front of Chen Hao. The body of the stone spirit is made of stone. But compared with the giant stone demons encountered before, the gap between the stone spirit and the giant stone demon is still huge. The stone spirit is now about 30 centimeters tall, thin, and has a single eye on its head similar to that of the water spirit. It is small and looks very fierce. The circular mark inside the circular mark representing their eyes turned. They looked around, and suddenly, their eyes fell on Chen Hao. The 6 little guys raised their heads and looked at Chen Hao. When Chen Hao saw them, he smiled. Hello. The 6 stone spirits moved, and they stepped on their little feet and hurried to Chen Hao. 6 little guys stood in front of Chen Hao, looking up at him with their heads tilted up. These 6 little guys didn't hug him directly like the water spirits, but it was almost the same. Chen Hao squatted down, smiling, and stretched out his hand to the stone spirits. The 6 stone spirits looked at Chen Hao's actions, and they looked at each other. One of the braver stone spirits walked towards Chen Hao's palm. It stretched out its stone hand and touched Chen Hao's fingers. Chen Hao could feel the stone spirit's somewhat hard palm. After the stone spirit touched Chen Hao's palm, it raised its head and looked at Chen Hao with its eyes. It was confused, as if it didn't know what Chen Hao wanted to do. Chen Hao smiled and took his hand back. Okay, you go and rest first, and let me see you tomorrow morning. Change. The stone spirit turned into a card and was put back into the book by Chen Hao. Both the water spirit and the stone spirit are in their infancy. From their every move, it can be seen that their taming degree is indeed 100%. However, because they are in their infancy, they can't speak. It's better to put them in the book now. Prepare breakfast for the monsters first, Chen Hao muttered. As usual, Chen Hao prepared breakfast for the big wolf and called them out. Chen Hao glanced at the monsters eating, he retracted his gaze, flipped through the book, and found the card of the Fire Phoenix. Half-Saint period Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. Taming degree, 100%. Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix came back from a serious injury last night and is now recovered. Looking at the color bar displayed on the Fire Phoenix card. Suddenly, Chen Hao's mind flashed. The Fire Phoenix card does not show hunger and thirst. Could it be that the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix is also a monster? Monsters are some non-living things that gain life after being invaded by a large amount of magic elements. The Fire Phoenix was originally the flame of the Earth's core, and it was not a living creature. From this point of view, the Fire Phoenix is also a monster. Could it be that the monster that the Ice Dragon called in the 5 Dragons Island was the strange beast mentioned by the Fire Fox? Chen Hao shook his head. There is no need to think about this, let's release the Fire Phoenix first. Thinking of this, he waved his hand. Change. The card turned into the figure of the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. The Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix slowly opened its eyes and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao smiled. Are you still going? The Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix came back to its senses when it heard it, and it puffed up its cheeks. Of course I will go. I think I can definitely kill it after 2 more fights. Humph. After speaking, the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix looked at Chen Hao and smiled. Master, wait for me. I'll go again. As it spoke, it flapped its wings, flew up, and flew towards the direction of the Holy Water Dragon again. Chen Hao wanted to say something, but looking at the figure of the sub-saint Fire Phoenix, he closed his mouth helplessly. You are really unteachable. Master, who are you going to ride today? Suddenly, a voice came. Chen Hao came back to his senses, but saw that the second wolf was full. It came over with expectation on its face. I suggest you ride me, my back is also very wide. Chen Hao's mouth twitched, he retracted his gaze and looked at the monsters, but found that most of the monsters were full and now they were looking at him. It seemed to be waiting for his order. Chen Hao said with a smile, I'm not going hunting today, and you don't have to go hunting either. Everyone is free to do whatever they want. Ah, when the second wolf heard this, it showed a disappointed look on its face, and its shaking tail dropped down. Master, why don't you go? Chen Hao found that in addition to the second wolf, the big wolf and the others were also looking at him. Chen Hao chose to give an explanation. He smiled and said, well, now there are enough water magic crystals. And the magic crystals of the semi-saint period are useless for you semi-saint period magic beasts. And the magic beasts of the saint period are too powerful and can't be dealt with. So, now everyone can move freely. Is that so? Then okay. The second wolf hung its tail and lowered its head slightly, looking lost. The big wolf and the third wolf also looked a little lost. As for the big bear, the ice dragon and the fire fox, their expressions did not change much. The little shadow and the shadow rabbits did not change much either. Chen Hao looked at the three lost guys, and he knew why these three little guys were like this. These three little guys are used to doing things for their master. If the master doesn't give them orders, they feel useless. Big Bear, Ice Dragon, and Fire Fox all have some experience, so they naturally know what Chen Hao means. As for Little Shadow and Shadow Rabbit, their duty has always been to protect Chen Hao. Even if Chen Hao doesn't let them hunt, for them, it's the best thing for them to stay by Chen Hao's side and protect him. These three idiots have to be coaxed. Chen Hao smiled and said, by the way, you three. As soon as they heard their master calling them, Big Wolf, Second Wolf and Third Wolf all raised their disappointed heads and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao crossed his arms and said with a smile, Firefox said before that you three guys don't have enough combat experience. You can take advantage of this time to improve your combat experience, otherwise when I let you hunt next time, if you still perform poorly, I will spank you. When the big wolf heard this, its pupils condensed slightly, and its expression became excited. Don't worry, master. I will definitely take advantage of this time to improve my combat experience. It clenched its fists, full of excitement. The third wolf also raised its head and looked at Chen Hao. Master, I will also improve my combat experience. Next time I hunt, my performance will definitely be better than before. Master, the second wolf was also very excited. It looked at Chen Hao and said, Master, I can let you spank me now. When the second wolf said this, the big wolf and the third wolf looked at the second wolf fiercely. Chen Hao immediately felt goosebumps all over his body. Chen Hao adjusted his disgusting mentality and looked at the second wolf. You little bastard, pay attention to your character and go train with the big wolves. Oh! The second wolf hung his tail in grievance. Chen Hao was speechless. This guy's personality was too abnormal. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 58. Chen Hao let the monsters move freely. Chen Hao had nothing to do, so he took Xiaoying to look for other monster cubs nearby. After wandering around for a day, Chen Hao didn't catch any monster cubs, but he encountered many adult monsters on the way, all of which were killed by Xiaoying and turned into magic crystals. The harvest of magic crystals was quite a lot. In fact, there are still many monsters and monster cubs here. However, the monster cubs that Chen Hao encountered throughout the day were either small water spirits or small stone spirits, which Chen Hao already had, so he didn't need them. The monster cubs were some fish and shellfish. Chen Hao was not interested in raising these troublesome things that were fishy, had to live in water, and were not cute. At night, the big wolf and the others came back, and when they came back, they also brought a lot of semi-saint period magic crystals. Sister Firefox asked us to hunt outside to gain combat experience, and then we killed many half-saint period monsters and beasts. We thought it would be a waste if we didn't bring back the magic crystals, so we brought them all back, Big Wolf said to Chen Hao with a smile. Hearing this, Chen Hao could only helplessly turn the magic crystals into cards and put them into the book. Let these guys move freely and take a good vacation, but in the end, these guys are still the same as usual. They probably think hunting is playing. Thinking of this, Chen Hao looked at the happy look of Big Wolf and the others after hunting. Chen Hao was relieved. Chen Hao wanted them to relax, since they think hunting is relaxing, why not? Late at night, when Chen Hao was about to go to bed, he checked his books. Just as Chen Hao expected, Fire Phoenix came back. The health level changed from 100% to 1%. Chen Hao didn't think much about it, closed the book, and went to sleep. The next morning, Chen Hao released the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. Chen Hao looked at the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix and said with a smile, "How is it? Are you going to continue?" The Fire Phoenix puffed up its cheeks when it heard it. "Of course I will continue." "That slutty dragon. Humph. I don't believe it." It flapped its wings and continued to fly towards the direction of the holy water dragon under Chen Hao's gaze, leaving a message when it flew away. "Master, wait for me to take down the magic crystal of that slutty dragon and give it to you." Watching the Fire Phoenix leaving in the distance, Chen Hao has become accustomed to it. Too lazy to pay attention to it. Chen Hao flipped through his books. I don't know what those 13 cute creatures have become. Mature stage big water spirit. Taming degree, 100%. Big water spirit growth path, big water spirit rightward arrow. It doesn't seem to be any different. Chen Hao took out the card of the big water spirit and looked at it for a while. From the picture, it seems that there is no change from yesterday. Let it out and see. Thinking of it, Chen Hao waved his hand. 7 cards flew out. Transform. The 7 cards transformed into 7 monsters together. 7 big water spirits appeared in front of Chen Hao. The appearance of these 7 big water spirits was basically the same as yesterday. If there is a difference, it is. They are a little bigger, Chen Hao muttered. The young water spirits yesterday were only about 30 centimeters tall. And the 7 big water spirits in front of him looked to be 1 meter tall. They are made of water and transparent. They are so transparent that you can even see the diamond-shaped crystals in their hearts. That is their magic crystal. They are different from ice giants. Ice giants are made of ice, rough and cold. And the big water spirits are smooth and bright, with thin arms and legs and slender bodies. They have a round head with a mark-like eye on their head. They are naked in human form and look very cute. They are simply born cute creatures. After the 7 big water spirits appeared, they turned their eyes and looked at Chen Hao. As soon as they saw Chen Hao, the 7 of them immediately came to Chen Hao's side. The 7 little guys surrounded Chen Hao, and some of them who were walking in front stretched out their hands and hugged Chen Hao, with their little heads leaning directly on Chen Hao's body. The little guys walking outside also squeezed in, wanting to hug Chen Hao. This little guy, who was less than 1 meter tall, looked like a few kindergarten children, vying to hug their parents. Chen Hao smiled, and he was in a playful mood. He stretched out his hand, passed his hand through the armpit of a big water spirit in front of him, and then lifted it up with force. The feeling of touching the big water spirit was like touching jelly, a little cool and soft. "Come, I'll lift it up for you." Chen Hao looked at the big water spirit he lifted up, and he said with a smile. The big water spirit's eyes, like a mark, trembled slightly, and seemed a little excited. Chen Hao put the big water spirit down. Suddenly, Chen Hao found that the other 6 big water spirits were lined up in a row. The big water spirit at the front stretched out its hands to Chen Hao, and it looked up at Chen Hao. Although it only had eyes on its face, Chen Hao seemed to hear its voice, "Master, it's my turn." This. The corners of Chen Hao's smiling mouth twitched. I was in a playful mood, and lifted them up high like playing with children, but I didn't expect that they liked it. Chen Hao smiled, okay, come one by one. Anyway, I have nothing to do, so I'll play with them. Chen Hao stretched out his hands and lifted them up one by one. All 6 big water spirits were lifted. Chen Hao was about to turn them back into cards, when suddenly, the corner of his clothes was pulled down. Chen Hao was slightly startled. He looked around and saw that the first big water spirit that he had lifted up was holding the corner of his clothes, staring at him. Seeing Chen Hao looking at it, it stretched out its hands to Chen Hao. That look seemed to say, "Master, I want more." Chen Hao was immediately at a loss whether to laugh or cry. He stretched out his hand, touched the little head of the big water spirit, and said with a smile, "Okay, good boy, I'll lift you up next time. Now, the 7 of you line up." The 7 big water spirits moved one after another and lined up. Chen Hao took out the Water Beast King magic crystal from the book and handed these palm-sized magic crystals to them one by one. "Eat it," Chen Hao said with a smile, "this thing can make you grow up quickly." If the monster is a strange beast, then even if they are not given magic crystals to eat, they can directly evolve to the Beast King stage in the next day. But the problem is, if the monsters are not, they can't grow into Beast Kings without replenishing magic. Chen Hao doesn't want to test whether they belong to alien beasts without replenishing magic. If they are not, it will waste a day. Chen Hao doesn't want to do that. After the 7 big water spirits ate all the magic crystals, they looked at Chen Hao one by one. Curious expressions, as if waiting for Chen Hao's next order. Chen Hao looked at these 7 cute little guys and smiled, "Go back, we will play again tomorrow." Change. The 7 big water spirits turned into 7 cards and appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao put away the 7 cards and put them into the book. These big water spirits, although they are mature, are still like children. However, it is also very interesting. Chen Hao found that if the monsters are tamed from the cub stage, their personalities will be more like children and they will have more dependence on themselves. Just like the big wolf, the second wolf and the third wolf. If they are already adults and then tamed, their dependence on themselves will not be so strong. Like Firefox and Ice Dragon. Maybe it's because the character has already been formed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 59. After feeding the big water spirits, it's time to feed the big stone spirits. Chen Hao looked at the cards of the big stone spirits. Maturity period: big stone spirit. Taming degree, 100%. Big stone spirit growth root, big stone spirit rightward arrow. Judging from the picture, the big stone spirit is not much different from yesterday's stone spirit. It seems that these monsters undergo similar changes from the cub stage to the mature stage. I guess the fact that the stone spirit has become a big stone spirit means that it has grown a bit. Chen Hao muttered as he threw the card in his hand onto the platform in front of him. Change. Along with Chen Hao's voice fell. The 6 cards transformed into the form of a large stone spirit. Seeing the 6 large stone spirits in front of him, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows and said, "It's just as I expected." The appearance of the 6 large stone spirits is not much different from yesterday, but they have grown in size, reaching nearly 1 meter in height. Previously, Chen Hao asked about the relationship between Ice Dragon, Stone Spirit, and Giant Stone Demon. Through the Ice Dragon, Chen Hao knew that after the stone spirit evolves to the Beast King stage, it has several evolutionary routes, and the stone spirits in the wild will all choose to evolve into the Stone Spirit King, and then when the Beast King stage evolves to the awakening stage, they will become a stone demon. When the stone demon enters the semi-holy period, it is the giant stone demon. But now the big stone spirit is completely different from the giant stone demon that Chen Hao has seen before. The stone demon's body is huge and strong, and it looks like a walking humanoid tank. Whether it is a stone spirit or a big stone spirit, the body is relatively thin, with thin arms and thin legs. After these 6 big stone spirits appeared, their marked pupils moved and they all looked at Chen Hao. As soon as they saw Chen Hao, they immediately approached Chen Hao. 6 little guys surrounded Chen Hao, raised their heads and looked at Chen Hao, as if waiting for Chen Hao's next order. Chen Hao smiled and said, "Be good, all line up, I will give you something to eat." When the 6 big stone spirits heard this, they hurriedly moved, and the 6 little ones lined up in a row. Then he raised his little head and looked at Chen Hao. This scene is similar to that of the great water spirit. Chen Hao took out the water beast king magic crystal and handed it to them one by one. These big stone spirits hold these beast king magic crystals with their hands made of stone. They looked at these beast king magic crystals, then raised their heads and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao smiled and said, "Eat." These 6 little guys looked at each other with confusion on their faces. They looked at Chen Hao together again. Chen Hao was slightly startled when he was stared at by these 6 little guys. "Don't want to eat?" Suddenly, an idea flashed in Chen Hao's mind, and he noticed that these 6 big stone spirits did not have mouths on their heads. Moreover, their bodies are made of stones that have been invaded by water magic elements. Their bodies are made of stones, and there is no way to stuff magic crystals directly into their bodies like the big water spirits. That is to say, these big stone spirits cannot eat magic crystals. Realize this. Chen Hao smiled bitterly and said, "Sorry, I didn't notice that you can't eat this." Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows and said with a smile, "But it's okay. Even if you can't eat it, you can still hold it. This is a gift for you." Hearing this, the big stone spirits had joy in their eyes. They looked at the magic crystals in their hands with great fondness. Looking at the expressions of these big stone spirits, Chen Hao smiled, "Well, you are still young, so go back and rest first. We will see you tomorrow morning." Upon hearing this, the big stone spirits looked at Chen Hao together. Change. 6 big stone spirits turned into cards. Card name, Big Stone Spirit and Beast King Magic Crystal. Chen Hao turned the Big Stone Spirit and the Beast King Magic Crystal into cards. In this way, although these big stone spirits cannot eat the magic crystal, they can also absorb the magic essence of the magic crystal in the card, which can ensure their rapid growth. Chen Hao put the card back into the card slot in the book. Afterwards, Chen Hao released the monsters as usual and fed them breakfast. But Chen Hao was thinking about the next changes in the big water spirit and the big stone spirit. If I thought correctly, the big water spirit and the big stone spirit would enter the Beast King stage tomorrow. When a mature Warcraft enters the Beast King stage, it can choose its own evolutionary path. In the wild, large water spirits and large stone spirits will choose to evolve into water spirit kings and stone spirit kings, and then evolve from water spirit kings into ice men and stone demons. I don't know, what choices will the 13 little guys I trained make? Apart from this matter, Chen Hao asked Bing Long about strange beasts and monsters. After listening to Chen Hao's words, the ice dragon said, "Although alien beasts and monsters are inanimate things that gain life through magic elements, there is a huge difference between the two." When Chen Hao heard this, "It's different." The ice dragon nodded slightly, "Yes, master. Alien beasts are living forms composed of pure magic, and such living beings composed of pure magic will generally take the form of wild beasts. Monsters are transformed into living entities by certain items invaded by magic. The form of monsters is generally composed of magic and matter. Unlike alien beasts, which take on the form of beasts. The alien beast possesses unbelievable talents and extremely terrifying accumulation of magic energy. As long as it is given time, it can easily evolve to the holy stage. The magic energy contained in the monster is limited. Like most monsters, it needs to evolve to maturity. After this period, it will be difficult to evolve to the Beast King stage. Sure enough, the longer you live, the more you know. Ice Dragon's experience is really a rare treasure. After listening to Ice Dragon's analysis, Chen Hao compared the Fire Phoenix and the Big Stone Spirit. Just as Ice Dragon said, there is a huge difference in the appearance of the two. Alien beasts are alien beasts, and demons are demons. It seems that I thought too much. Fortunately, I did not raise the 13 little things as alien beasts, and chose to feed them with the Beast King magic crystal, otherwise today would be wasted. At night, Chen Hao lay on the bed, looking at the familiar ceiling. He thought about what Ice Dragon said. As long as the alien beast has a strong talent and a terrifying amount of magic in its body, as long as it is given time, it can easily enter the saint stage. Chen Hao opened the book and flipped through it. Half Saint Stage Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix. Health, 1%. Taming, 100%. This guy came back again with a serious injury, and Chen Hao has gotten used to it. Chen Hao looked at the card of the Sub-Saint Fire Phoenix and murmured, that is to say, the Fire Phoenix only needs time to evolve to the sainthood stage, only time. One night in the book is basically equivalent to 20 to 30 years. It has been more than half a month since the Fire Phoenix evolved to the semi-sainthood stage. If it wants to evolve from the semi-sainthood stage to the sainthood stage, the time should be about the same. The semi-sainthood stage enters the sainthood stage. What will the sub-saint Fire Phoenix evolve into? Chen Hao closed the book, closed his eyes, and fell asleep with expectation. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 60. A ray of sunlight penetrated the window of the wooden house and fell into the wooden house. Chen Hao, who felt the light, slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the familiar ceiling above. He took a deep breath, then exhaled, huh. He slowly got up, sat up, and leaned against the head of the bed. Book. The book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Next, it's time to see the changes of the 13 little guys. What kind of routes did they choose? Chen Hao opened the book with expectation and trepidation. At first glance, Chen Hao's eyes lit up slightly. Beast King Stage Water Mist. The 7 big water spirits actually unified and tacitly evolved into water mist. Strange, this is a bit strange. It stands to reason that whether it is a magic beast or a monster, when it evolves from the mature stage to the Beast King stage, they have many evolutionary routes. In the wild, the big water spirits will unify the evolutionary route and evolve into the Water Spirit King. However, the evolutionary route chosen by these 7 big water spirits is unified as water mist. Although they are both in the book, they have no connection. How do they achieve such tacit understanding? Chen Hao held doubts, took out a piece of water mist and looked at it. Beast King Stage Water Mist. Description: Water Mist, a water attribute monster, a small humanoid monster evolved from a large water spirit, good at hiding magic. It looks like there is nothing special about it. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows, he got off the bed, let it out and asked. If you want to know why the large water spirits made this choice, just ask and you will know. When they reach the Beast King stage, they already have the ability to speak. Chen Hao left the wooden house, took out a water mist card, and threw it forward. Transform. The card transformed into the posture of water mist, and the figure of water mist appeared in front of Chen Hao. Water mist is made of water all over, and its height is about the same as that of the large water spirit. The difference is that the large water spirit tends to be a child's body, giving people a feeling of baby fat cuteness. Shui Wuzi is slender, similar to the body of a slender girl, and of course it has no sexual characteristics. Obviously, Shui Wuzi is similar to Huo Feng, both of which are neutral. At the same time, it has facial features. It just came out with its eyes closed, a small nose, and long hair made of water. With its height of less than 1 meter, it looks like a 5 or 6-year-old girl made of water. It slowly opened its eyes, revealing a pair of deep blue eyes. Looking around, suddenly, its sight fell on Chen Hao. Its eyes lit up slightly, and a smile could be clearly seen on its face. It walked briskly to Chen Hao. It looked up at Chen Hao with its little head, then stretched out its hands to Chen Hao and said with a smile, "Master, hold it high." The voice was childish, like a 5 or 6-year-old child. Hearing Shui Wuzi's words, Chen Hao felt a shock in his heart. He thought about the fact that he lifted them up yesterday morning, and then looked at the small figure of Shui Wuzi. Could it be that the reason why these 7 big water spirits tacitly evolved into Shui Wuzi was so that he could lift them up? Thinking of this, Chen Hao subconsciously covered his face. In other words, a small action he made for fun made the big water spirits unify their evolutionary goals. "Master," Shui Wuzi made a puzzled sound. Chen Hao came back to his senses. He showed a bitter smile, squatted down, stretched out his hand, and held the small Shui Wuzi in his arms. Shui Wuzi sat in Chen Hao's arms, its eyes sparkling, its face full of joy and happiness. "Master, aren't you going to lift me up today?" Chen Hao adjusted his mood, smiled and said, "Do you like to lift me up?" Shui Wuzi hummed and smiled and said in a milky voice, "I like it, and if the master is happy, I am happy too." Chen Hao nodded slightly, and said, "Master, let me ask you a question. When you evolved from a big water spirit to the Beast King stage, you should be able to evolve into a water spirit king. Why don't you evolve into a water spirit king?" Although Chen Hao had his own guess, Chen Hao still wanted to ask. When Shui Wuzi heard it, it said, "The water spirit king is very tall, the same height as the master. If I evolve into a water spirit king, then the master can't lift me up. And Shui Wuzi has 2 eyes, and the water spirit king has 1 eye. I think I want to become like the master." At this point, it looked at Chen Hao's face with some worry. "Master, do you want me to evolve into a water spirit king?" Its expression was full of worry. Because evolution is irreversible, it thinks that Chen Hao, as its master, likes to hold it high, so it chooses to evolve into Shui Wuzi. But if Chen Hao wants it to evolve into Shui Ling Wang, it can no longer do it. It is a little worried that its choice will make Chen Hao, as its master, dissatisfied. Chen Hao immediately noticed Shui Wuzi's thoughts and looked at her worried eyes. He smiled and explained, "Of course not, I think you are very cute now, much better than Shui Ling Wang." The worry on Shui Wuzi's face disappeared, replaced by a face full of happiness. Looking at Shui Wuzi's happy look, Chen Hao smiled, "Okay." Chen Hao put Shui Wuzi down from his arms. Shui Wuzi fell to the ground. It stood up, and looked at Chen Hao with big eyes. Looking at Shui Wuzi's posture, Chen Hao smiled and touched her hair, saying with a smile, "I'll call out your companions too." When Shui Wuzi heard it, she hummed, "Okay." Hearing this, Chen Hao retracted his hand. "By the way, in order to distinguish you, I will give you a name. You will be called Shui Yi." Shui Wuzi's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on her face. "Great, I have a name. Shui Yi, I am Shui Yi." Looking at Shui Wuzi's happy look, Chen Hao smiled. He opened the book and took out the cards of the other 6 Shui Wuzi from it. Chen Hao fell into thought. The little water spirits living in the wild pursue survival. After all, the wild is very dangerous. They will be swallowed by other monsters or monsters at any time and become the source of magic for other monsters and monsters. So the evolution of the little water spirits in the wild tends to be self-protective and powerful. From the mature stage to the Beast King stage, among the evolutionary roots of the big water spirits, it is estimated that the Water Spirit King is the most powerful root among all the evolutionary roots. Therefore, all the big water spirits in the wild have evolved to this root. As for the small water spirits cultivated by Chen Hao, they don't need to worry about survival. They are more concerned about what their master Chen Hao thinks. And when Chen Hao lifted him up that time, the little water spirits concluded that, the master likes to lift him up. Therefore, they all chose the evolutionary route of the smaller water mist. Thinking of this, Chen Hao sighed in his heart, monsters are really a group of magical creatures.